So you need a 5/16 socket, 7/16 socket, and a 3/8 socket with a ratchet wrench and an extension. I think that's a 6-inch extension, 3/8 drive. You'll take off the air box lid right here. That's already on there. That's fine. Oh yeah, you'll also need a flathead screwdriver and a pair of needle nose pliers. Taking the carburetor off of a Craftsman yard tractor 3000. That's the difference between an LT and a YT yard tractor or lawn tractor. This one's got a bigger deck. It's a 46-inch deck. Taking off the carburetor so we can get it cleaned. Owner thinks that's the problem, so we're going to clean it up for her and get it going. Got to take this screw off, and then in the back there is another one. If you have a fancy little extension like this, it'll reach right along the back side. Let's see if we can figure out how to get over there so you can see it. There it is. See, there's that tube right there, that I wasn't sure if it'd stop me from getting to the bolt or not, or the nut or not, but it does not. Just shove that thing right in there. Let's see if we can see it. Don't think I can see me getting around it, but you can hear it. So we'll end up taking, where'd we go? Those two off. We'll have to take off all the linkage for the choke and the throttle. Get it off of the carburetor. The carburetor should just pop off once we take all this stuff off. So we got those bolts unscrewed. I reached in behind the front and the back with both hands and just unscrewed the nut off of the back. For this, handy dandy multi-tool. Folds up and stuff. You guys have seen them before. But this one is for fishing, which is why it's got the hemostat tip. But, you know, it does what it does. I prefer using this than anything because of the skinny tip. You just take that off. That's the fuel line. Give it a rotate so that it breaks the seal that it has around it from sitting so long, and then wiggle as you pull out. Got that off. There was a screw right there that I had to take off to free this up from this piece. Then we loosen those bolts so that we can just unscrew them finger tight, or finger loose, so that I can just unscrew them. All four of those got to come off. This gets lifted up and we can start tearing into the carburetor. Also, for reference, these are the ones from the front of the engine. These are the ones from the back of the engine. You just need to loosen it enough to lift it up to make it to where did it go? I can't even find the piece. I just took it off too. That's funny. Oh, it's right here. That's the piece that was right here that had to be taken off, that goes to the air box, the elbow to the air box from the carburetor. You just have to lift this, loosen it, take those out, and then lift this far enough, because it's still got the fuel pump and everything here. Lift that far enough just to have access to the carburetor, which we do. That'll be the throttle. Choke will be air coming in, so this is choke side, and this is throttle side. So we got to take those off, which consists of a tiny little spring, if you can see it, that's wrapped around right here, and it pinches in there, and it pinches in, oh, right there. So first things first, we'll undo the spring. Probably undo the spring from this side. Come back to my handy dandy hemostat. And this is why I like them. Let's see if we can get in there. So you need a 5/16 socket, 7/16 socket, and a 3/8" socket with a ratchet wrench and an extension. I think that's a 6" extension, 3/8 drive. You'll take off the air box lid right here. That's already on there. That's fine. Oh yeah, you'll also need a flathead screwdriver and a pair of needle nose pliers. And then with that 5/16 one, after you take off this piece right here and these two nuts, then that piece with the 7/16, you'll switch to the 5/16 to finish taking the rest of these out. And that right there is going to be your carburetor coming off. But this is just a stud that goes all the way through. There's two of them. Lift it up with your hand. Unscrew that one. Unscrew that one. Now they'll come off. And then you'll pull these respective pins out. And you pull it out and your carburetor is free to get cleaned. Check back in a second. Now the carburetor is off. Those had to be angled as you pulled it off. You had to twist the carburetor in order to get them off. Now what's going to happen, now that the carburetor is off, we're going to take this to get cleaned. What we're going to do to make sure there's no issues, we're going to stuff a red rag back into here so that nothing gets into the engine case and messes with anything. And then we're going to put all this stuff back up there. We're going to start assembling everything. These studs back on, put everything else back where it was so you don't lose anything for when you come back and put the carburetor back on. Okay, carburetor's off. I'm going to take that home and clean it. Got everything back in. Bolts are put back in the holes, but only finger tight because they're going to be coming off once I do the carburetor. I got to put the filter back on and then the cover back on. But all this is all finger tight so it can come back off when I get done with it. Rag stuffed in there so no dirt gets in. We're good to go.